All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Today is Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. It is New Year's Eve. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new video series for my YouTube. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it just yet, but I'm going to try to do maybe one every day or maybe every other day, a video message, just to kind of give an update on things that are going on in my life or around where I'm at. And things that are just, happening around me. Also trying to just use this as just a place just to record my feelings. So if I ever want to go back and, figure out and hear things that were going on at a certain time in my life, but also just to share some things that I've been through. And, even if it would just reach just a few people and help them to see with what I've been through and things that they're going through, if any of it would help them or give them some thoughts or just be able to relate to things, and that know that we all have struggles in our lives, but it's how at the end of the day we can come out on the other end. So I'm doing this video. It's outside where the property where I live at. It is in Kissimmee, Florida, so moved here earlier this year. So just wanted to do a quick intro. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around now so you can see the scenery that's around where I'm at. I'm just on a little bridge area that's on the property where I live. And when I turn this around, I don't know how much you'll be able to see, but there's like a little lake that runs through where I live with some trees and stuff. Don't know how much of that you can see, but it is the outdoors. And I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot of planes going around because I live really close to the Orlando airport. So usually during the day there's quite a few airplanes that go by, coming in and taking off in and out of the area. So you might hear that in the background. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and just want to kind of discuss some things about my life that's gone over through the past few years, and that's kind of brought me to the point where I am at now, since today's New Year's Eve and tomorrow's the New Year, and just kind of get some things documented, and hopefully things that I've been through can offer some insight to some other people. And if, maybe it won't, maybe it will, but just know that you're not alone, and that, we all go through our struggles. And it's all about coming out on the other end. And when you find people along the way, when you have these struggles that want to be in your life and help you, it is okay to be strong and try to do things on your own. But don't not accept help from people if they are the right people to offer you help. Don't push them away, because we all need a few good people in our life. Okay, so that's just my little intro to what we're doing here. So just to go back a little bit, so kind of when my life started changing was on January 14th of 2021. I remember it like it was just yesterday. I was at work. I worked at a assisted living facility in West Virginia. I hadn't moved to Florida yet. So I got a phone call. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and it was my brother. And he was calling me at work just to tell me that my father had just passed away. There was no indication that this was going to happen. He had not been sick. There had been nothing going on with him medically. I mean, he had some minor medical problems, issues. I won't say problems. He had high blood pressure, but he was on medication for that. He had received a little bit of kidney dialysis because one of his kidneys wasn't doing great, but it was still functioning, and the other one was still good. So he received a little bit of dialysis and was able to get the kidney that wasn't quite as good as the other, actually got it functioning a little bit better. So the doctors were happy with the outcome of that situation that he went through with the dialysis. And he always took good care of his blood pressure, and he walked a lot. So he was, for his age, he was really in good health. So it was just on January 14th of 21, it was about 11 o'clock in the morning, he was just found that he had passed away in the upstairs bathroom. So my brother called me at work, obviously, to let me know. So it was hard to hear. I had to sit at work for about an hour so I could try to pull myself together. And once I was able to do that, then I obviously, in the meantime, while I was doing that, I had called my son and let him know what was going on. And then, so when I was able to leave my work, once I pulled myself together a little bit, we did swing by and pick up my son from home, and we all went to the hospital where my dad was, because he'd been picked up from home with an ambulance, obviously. So he was already at the hospital. So myself, my son, my brother, my mom was with us, and a few people from our church met us there. They let us in there to see him. You know, I was just in a lot of shock and really wasn't sure what to think. You know, obviously, I mean, I knew that he had passed away, but, you know, somehow when something like that happens that quickly, reality doesn't set in right away. So I was, you know, concerned about that and worried about what had just happened. Sad for myself, but I was also more sad for my mom, because they had been married for 59 years, which is a very, very long time to be with somebody. And she was kind of in shock and wasn't sure how she was feeling. I mean, she was sad, but I think she was in more shock than anything, so wasn't quite sure what to say. I think she was kind of numb at that point. So we stayed at the hospital for a few hours, and when I was able to get out of there, I did get my mom and my brother back home. My son and I went to our home, and then I told my mom, don't worry about any of the arrangements for my father. I was going to go and take care of that, because my mother had some health problems, and I just didn't want her to have that extra burden of having to figure that out. So I told her, just let me handle it. So the next day, which was Friday, I was already off from work, so I didn't have to request any time off. So I took that Friday, and I had went to the funeral home that I knew my dad probably would have wanted me to use. And since I was off on that day, I went ahead and made all the funeral arrangements, you know, talking to the funeral home about what we needed to do, and, you know, the arrangements and how we wanted everything to work out, and was also in touch with my father's minister and what we were going to do. My father was very active in the church, so I felt it was very appropriate to work out with the funeral home and the minister of the church that we had the funeral actually at the church, because that was where my father spent a lot of time. All of his close and dearest friends were there, and I just felt that was, with my dad not having said what he wanted, I would have felt that was how he would have wanted it to be. So those were the arrangements that I made with the funeral home and the minister of the church that my parents went to. So I made all the arrangements, and then you know, arranged everything with the funeral home, and then I contacted all the family, and they were going to be coming in for this. The minister of the church, you know, he said that he would handle all the details as far as the service goes. In the church that my son and I were going to, the minister that we had at our church, I wanted him involved as well. So he came in and he played a song on his guitar at the service, because that was how I wanted that to go, just so the minister from our church would have a little bit of involvement, you know, with the service from my dad. So, you know, it was a hard few days leading up to the service. We had a lot of wonderful people from my parents' church and our church that were bringing us food, you know, so we didn't have to have the burden of cooking and trying to figure out what was going on about that. So that did kind of relieve the burden a little bit, you know, not having to worry about where our meals were coming from for a few days. So the funeral came, and, you know, we went through that, and I mean, I don't know if you say it was a nice funeral, but, you know, I felt like it was what needed to be done for my father, and you know, that was the way he would have wanted it. So it went well, and I think that, you know, it gave everybody some closure. We did have him there as a viewing, that you could see him. He was there. My mom and I had decided that after the funeral was over, though, that we were actually going to have him cremated because they didn't have any burial plots made out or bought anywhere, and I didn't want to deal with that, so I opted just to have him cremated, and I picked out an urn for him to be in. So that's how we handled that. So when the funeral was finally over, we did go to a local restaurant where we were living at the time, and family met us there. We had a dinner together and just kind of shared memories, about my father and everything. And it was nice to visit with family. It's kind of sad sometimes, though, that, when you get together with your family, it's always because something usually sad happens, like a funeral or something. But it was still nice to see everybody. And so when the day was over, then I got my mom back home and got her settled in at home. And, she had some health problems as well, but she was doing okay considering, her age and everything. So she had called me the next day, and this is kind of when things got a little bad. My mother had called me the next day and had said that because of the length of time that the two of them had been married, which I said earlier was 59 years, she just didn't feel like she could go on. And it upset me when I heard her say that. I'm not saying that I didn't understand, but it really upset me when I heard her say that. But I understood. But I just kind of told her, I said, Mom, you're just really upset. We're all hurting right now. So, we're all going to stick together as a family, because that's what families do. And we're going to get through this. But I think I should have paid a little bit more attention to her when she said that, because it was actually 4 days after his funeral that she went into the hospital, and she had ended up slipping into a coma, and she actually passed away February 16th of the same year. So it was actually a month and 2 days after my father passed away that she passed away. So she just couldn't feel like she could go on anymore. So, I lost both my parents within a month and 2 days of each other. And then obviously that was had already made a bad situation worse. So then I was left with, what to do now. I had the house that they were living in, which my brother was still living there. I had another house that they owned that was sitting empty. Then there was some other financial matters, obviously, that usually have to be taken care of when family members pass away. I had to get a lawyer and had to get paperwork and had to meet with other people, and became the beneficiary of the account and the one that was, or his estate, I should say, and that was going to handle things financially and get everything taken care of, as far as that, to handle his affairs. So then, to make matters a little bit even more complicated, right after they had passed away, then my brother took ill. That was kind of an ordeal, because even when I had said to him, you need some medical help as well. I just lost both my parents. You need to let me help you medically, so you're going to be okay. For the next year, and so this was 21, so then fast forward to 22, he denied that he had any medical conditions, and he did not want any medical help. So at the time, I was not his medical power of attorney. So when he said he didn't wish to have any medical help, I just had to kind of let it go at that. But in the meantime, I had the same lawyer that was helping me with some other things. I did get my brother to agree to let me become his medical power of attorney. So I had to get some paperwork done and had to have me do some signatures on there. My brother had to do some signatures on there. So then I was able to get the paperwork to go through that I was his medical power of attorney. So then at that point, I was able to tell him whether he wanted to go or not, that he was going to go to the doctor and starting to get some medical treatment to get him into a better place. And it's not really funny, but for lack of a better word, so the condition that my brother was having, which I knew he was having because my mother had it as well, was Parkinson's. And so I knew all the signs because I had seen it with her, and I was seeing the same thing in him. And he was just in denial, which I can't understand, but I still needed him to get some help, because it's not really curable, but with medication you can still have, you can still be okay. So he didn't want to go to the doctor though, so I had to respect that. But then I became his medical power of attorney, so then I was able to get him to the doctor and to start getting him some treatment and got him on some medication and got him straightened out as best I could. Then I had told him that I needed to, all the houses that they owned, that I needed to start the process of selling those homes, because they were all big homes and there was no reason that we needed to keep those homes, and that I was going to make arrangements and find him another place to live, and that he just needed to trust me and just let me handle things and know that I would have his best interest at heart. So I was doing that, and I was working on that about getting him another place to live and getting the houses sold. Then there was one day that my son and I were at a hockey game, and it was loud in there, so I didn't hear my phone ringing, but I saw it flashing. So I stepped out of the hockey game and stood in the entrance area of the arena so I could take the call. And it was actually the local police where I was living, telling me that the house that he was living in, which was the house that we grew up in, that I was trying to get him moved out of and get sold, that there was a water break in the house and the electric was still on, and the house was starting to flood in the basement because of the water break, and they had to go in there and hurry up and try to get the water shut off. And because of the water that was coming in and the electricity that was in the house, was posing a fire threat, obviously. So I gave permission to the fire department and the police that were calling me to let me know this was going on. They shut the water off to the house and they shut all the electricity off to avoid a fire, and they needed to get my brother out of there immediately. And even with all of that was going on, he was still insistent that he was not leaving the house. But we had to convince him to leave the house, which was quite an ordeal. So we ended up eventually convincing him that evening he had to leave the house, and not sure where we were going to put him at the time because it was an emergency. And I only had a 2-bedroom apartment at the time, so I didn't really have any space for him. So for the time being, for the evening, the local police that were there helped me get him into like a Salvation Army type situation where they would have a bed and there'd be meals there for him until I could figure out, what I needed to do. So he was there for a few days. So at least I knew he was in a safe place and that there was people there that would be around with him, in case there was anything going on. So while I had him in a safe place, then I was contacting actually the place where I was working at the time, because it was an assisted living facility, and I was talking to them about getting him actually a place there. So I had to go through all the paperwork and go through the approval process to actually get him moved into there. So from the time that I started the paperwork and got everything completed and signed that needed to be signed, he stayed at the city agency place, the Salvation Army. He stayed there for a few days, and then I had to put him up in a hotel for a couple days. And there was a local facility, not a local facility, but an agency that was there that helped me pay a little bit of the hotel costs, because of the medical conditions that he was having. So that was helpful. And so he stayed in the hotel for a few days, maybe like a few days to a week, until I could get his room ready at the assisted living place. So then we finally got him moved into there and got him settled, got him some new furniture, got him all straightened up, and got his medications all straightened out. And so then at that point I knew he was having like 3 good meals a day. There was housekeeping that was there for him. There was nurses that were on staff, so they were making sure that, he kept up with his medication. So that took a lot of worry off of me, since I knew he was there. And then, at that point, trying to rebuild the relationship that really had kind of fallen apart with my brother and I. And the relationship between my son and I has always been fine, but the relationship with me and my brother, and the relationship with my son and my brother, really needed a lot of work. So since I had got him into a better place to live, then we were starting to work on our relationship as a family to try to get that fixed. So while all this is going on, my son was in his senior year of high school, and so it was a little difficult because, we now knew that my parents weren't going to be there for his high school graduation, and you always think that they will be, and the fact that they were there, this whole time of his life, and he made it to be a senior in high school, and they were still around. So I just always kind of just assumed that they were going to get to see him graduate high school, which now I knew that wasn't going to happen, and so that was a little hard to deal with. But we were dealing with it the best we could as a family. So then in the meantime, from the time that they passed away, and then I got my brother moved into the place and was dealing with, professionals in my life, medical professionals, financial professionals, to help me get things more in order, for myself, my son, my brother. We both were working, myself and my son, and then he graduated high school, and then he actually went and got a job, so he was working as well. And things weren't great, but things were okay, and I was dealing with things as best I could to get things straightened out. So then in Christmas of 2023, so a year ago, my son and I actually came to the Orlando area on vacation. We went to Disney. So I figured with everything that had gone on, we just needed a little bit of time away, just as mother and son, just to come to Disney, because it had been a few years since we went to Disney, and just kind of needed a break, if you will, maybe to escape reality for a little bit, and just kind of clear our head. So we came to Disney for Christmas of last year, Christmas of 2023. We were here at Disney for probably like 8 days, I think. We came in a few days before Christmas and stayed a couple days after Christmas. Now, when Christmas morning got here, it was a hard morning because I was glad it was Christmas and I was at Disney with my son. But I was missing my folks, and so I was having a really hard day, a really hard time with that, because I was just missing them more than usual. So we got ready and we went to Magic Kingdom that day, and I was doing a lot of crying even though I was in the park. That ended up being a whole thing. And to go back a little bit, so then there was Mirabel from Encanto. I had seen the movie up to that point, and I did like the movie, but then she was doing a meet and greet inside Magic Kingdom, and my son was like, let's go get in line to meet her. And I was like, okay. So we were in line, and I'm still crying, and I'm not pulling myself together. I was just having a really rough day. So I looked at my son and I said, just stay in line, go get your picture taken with her, get her autograph. I'm just going to kind of step aside and kind of clean my face up a little bit and try to pull myself together. So I got out of line and he stayed in line. And when it was his turn to go meet with her, he was doing the usual talking to her and getting pictures taken, and she was signing his autograph book. Well, then she got out of line, like where she was when she would do her meet and greets, and came over to me and just told me that my son had told her everything that had gone on with us the last few years, and really kind of gave me a big hug and just said, family's everything, and that she was really sorry for everything that had gone on. But she said, but you're here. So, and it just really meant a lot to me that she did that. Kind of like it wasn't going to make the problems go away, but just kind of had me have somebody that wasn't related, that wasn't involved in the situation, to say, you know what, it may not be okay right now and you may not feel okay, but everything's going to be okay. So that really meant a lot to me, and kind of straightened up my day a little bit. And so my son and I went on the rest of our Christmas day, and we definitely made the best of it and just enjoyed our time at Disney together over the Christmas vacation in 2023. So then when our Christmas vacation was up and it was time to go back to West Virginia, neither of us really liked to fly, so we were taking the train to go back to West Virginia. And while we were on the plane, and also to say this, so for years I have always wanted to move to Florida, and really was never doing anything to make that happen, because I always thought that when the timing was right, God would make the situation present itself, that it was going to work out when it should be. So when we actually got home from our Disney Christmas vacation of last year, things just really fell into place, and I had sold my parents' house and the other house that they had, and I put my house on the market, and everything sold within like 2 months. And I told my brother that we were finally going to move to Florida, like I had always wanted to, and he agreed to come with us. And so I said, well, you let me and my son get there first, because then I'll have to find a place for you to live, but I will go and get all that set up for you, and then and then I'll make the arrangements to get you to Florida as well. So all the houses that I had to sell, they sold. And so my son and I, we got a moving company that was going to help us move. So they came and packed up all of our stuff. And funny enough, where we're living at right now, my next door neighbor was actually someone that I met when I lived in West Virginia. And we've always remained in touch on and off. And so when I told her that I was going to be moving to Florida, she ended up telling me that the home that was right next to her was actually empty and available. So she gave me the information of who I needed to call to talk to them about seeing if I could get moved in there. So the lady that I've known for years, and we lived fairly close together. We weren't direct neighbors when we lived in West Virginia, but we were fairly close to each other in distance, maybe 10 minutes, is now my next door neighbor while we're here. So it's funny how little things like that work out. And I'm a strong believer of, things will work out the way they're supposed to. So then we got everything straightened out back in West Virginia, and I got the houses sold and got all those things kind of finalized. And so then March of this year is when we were actually going to make the move. So we had the moving company had come and gotten all of our stuff, and I was just going to drive my car here because there was myself, my son, and my 2 dogs and my cat. So we were going to make the trip. And it was 900 and some miles, and I was the only driver. So we took like 4 days to get here, just because of myself, my son, the animals. We just could not do all that in one day driving. And then we also couldn't get into our home until that Friday. So for all of those reasons, we just took the next 4 days just to get here and not have to be rushed. So we could all still have somewhat of our sanity left by the time we got here after driving almost 1,000 miles. So the day we got here, I had to meet with the front office and did all the paperwork and got all the utilities, switched over to my name and everything. And then so we just started unpacking things and just getting settled. So we've been through a lot this year, our first year here. My son has found work. He actually works at SeaWorld. Well, not SeaWorld. He works at Aquatica, which is part of SeaWorld, and he's about to be soon transferred to SeaWorld. So he's in the process of getting the switchover done. He just has to do some paperwork and things like that. But he's doing well there, and it's like with any job. There's things you don't like, there's things that you do like, but he's doing well. So he's doing that, and he's made a few friends since we've been here. And did get my brother moved here. Once I got here and got ourselves settled, I did find a place for him to live that was an assisted living place, just like the facility that he was living at when we were still in West Virginia. So I went there and took care of all of the paperwork that was there, got all of his medication paperwork and documents from his doctors, and everything transferred over to the facility that's here. So then I was able to get him moved and, got him new furniture so I could get him settled here. I bought him a one-way train ticket because he doesn't like to fly either. So then got him here the day we went and picked him up from the Amtrak train station, got him to his new home, and then he was only here a few days, and then he was like, yeah, I don't like it here and I'm going to go back. And I was like, you have to give it a little bit more of a chance than that. You can't just be here for a few days and say that you're going to go back. Excuse me. So I said, you're going to have to stick it out for a little bit and just give it more of a chance than that and try to make this work for all of us. So he stayed. I've had some other medical challenges with him since we've been here. But I talked to the facility that he's at. I keep in touch with the nurses there. We've had to make a few changes in his treatment plan since we've been here. But medically, he's doing okay, is to be expected. He can walk. He does have to use a scooter to get around a little easier if he's going to be somewhere where he has to walk a lot. We just take the scooter with us, for him, just to make things easier. So just kind of wanted to recap, the last few years of what's gone on with us. I'm probably going to be doing this maybe every day, maybe every other day, just to kind of give video recaps of what's going on with myself, my son, my brother, and just things around us, just to kind of have like a video journal of things. Just so I can share my experiences and just be able to remember and things that are going on with us. So it's been like a lot of challenges that we've been through over the last few years, with my parents passing away, my brother getting sick and having to sell houses and take care of finances for everybody, and then wanting to make the move. And so I had to make that happen for everybody and get everybody here, get everybody comfortable. And so my brother's doing better. My son's got a job, and, he's getting things situated for himself there. And so, life here isn't perfect. But I've always said that, no matter where you live, you're always going to have challenges that you have to work through. And we do. But we've come here and, we've worked through the last 3 years of our lives that needed a lot of help. And a lot of rebuilding, regrowth, and to kind of, I feel like everything has kind of come full circle at this point. And so we have come out on the other end. And so I think that even though there's still some things that we need to take care of and deal with and fix, but life is a lot better. Things are more straightened out. And we are in sunshiny Florida, and it's December 31st of 2024. And it's 70 degrees out here today, and we don't have to deal with any more cold weather, no more snow. And it's just, I've always told my neighbor, I said, even my worst day in Florida would still be a better day than it was when I was still in West Virginia. Because I just did not want to be there anymore. I stayed in West Virginia because of my family. And so I figured after they passed away that it was just time for me. That was God's way of telling me, you stayed, you took care of your family, you stayed here for them. Unfortunately, they're not with you anymore. So I took that as my opportunity to get out, which is what I've been always wanting to do, and kind of get here to Florida and start making the life that I've been wanting. So haven't done everything that I want to do here, but I definitely got the ball rolling and everything's moving in the right direction. So I just hope that this is my first video for the video journal. And I hope whoever listens to this, I hope you can listen to the struggles that we've had and but how at the end of the day we have, even though we've had arguments, there's been rough days, there's been good days, there's been bad days, but with that, at the end of the day, we still realize that we are still family. And with the family that we have and the few good friends that we have here, you know, things have worked out. And, you know, the few other things that I need to take care of, I do believe and I have faith in the man upstairs that things will always work out the way they're supposed to. You know, I put this out there and wanting to move here and having everything taken care of, and everything is working out. So like I said, even though there's still some things that we need to fix, but everything is a lot better than what it used to be. And so as you can see, the beautiful area, no more snow, no more cold weather. You know, it's sunshiny. It does kind of rain here a lot, but that's okay. Actually did rain today, and we desperately needed that rain very badly. So we did get that, so that's kind of good. And so being today's New Year's Eve, so I'm just waiting for my son to get off work, and then he's going to come home, he's going to change clothes and kind of straighten himself up a little bit, and then we're actually just going to go grab a bite to eat, because it's New Year's Eve, and just kind of have that time together. And then probably just get home early. Like after that, we'll just, you know, make our way home. We don't live that far from Disney, Magic Kingdom, and they'll be doing their fireworks this evening. Some of them, the ones that go high in the sky, we can see them from here. So we'll be able to see a little bit of the fireworks that's from the park this evening. So yeah, so that's going to be how we spend New Year's Eve. And going into 2025, you know, I'm just knowing that with everything that we've been through the past 3 years, next year's going to be, this year's been a good year. Next year's going to be even better. You know, my son's doing well. I've still got some things to work through, but things are definitely better for me. And we're getting things straightened out. So, and my brother's doing a lot better, even though he still has some medical challenges, but he's doing better. He does drive me insane a lot. I think on certain days he really drives me nuts, but I'm dealing with that as best I can. Yeah, so just kind of wanted to share what we've been through for the past few years, and that we're getting things straightened out. And so just wanted to kind of tell everybody that, you know, even when you feel at your worst and you're down and you feel like, you know, maybe the days aren't going the way you'd want them to go, just to, you know, have some faith, take a step back, take a deep breath. Things will work out the way they're supposed to work out. You just have to have a little bit of faith, and they may not get straightened out in the time frame that you want them to be straightened out, because I found that to be true the past few years that I've lived. Things don't always get straightened out as quickly as you want them to get straightened out, but everything will work out the way it's supposed to. So just try to, if you've got struggles that you're going through, just try to be strong and have faith in God, and keep your family close. You know, always have a couple close friends that you can always talk to. Just, you know, to have that avenue as well. So yeah, so that's what I just wanted to recap the last few years that we've had, and how it's, you know, now it's New Year's Eve and tomorrow's a new year, and just kind of wanted to share what's been going on with us. And probably going to do these videos maybe once a day, maybe every other day, just to kind of keep everybody in tune to what's going on, and then also just to have kind of a record for myself, you know, what's going on with us. You know, to be able to look back sometimes and see what we've been through, and how we're doing a lot better than what we were. So I hope everybody's enjoyed my story, and I hope you've enjoyed the beautiful sky. Like I said, it rained a little bit earlier, but it's cleared up again, and I'm sure you can hear the birds in the background and the planes flying overhead, and just how pretty it is here. So I do hope you've enjoyed my story. If you know, listen to it, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, you know, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll get back to anybody if they do say anything. If you do like the story that I've said today, you know, and you want to subscribe to my channel, that would be totally fine. You know, as I said, I will be trying to do, you know, updates every day, maybe every other day, you know, posting a video on here just to kind of give updates and, you know, what's going on in the daily life of myself and my family. All right, so I hope this finds everybody well, and I do want to wish everybody a happy new year. Everybody be safe, have fun, and I will see you on the next video.